Hello, my beautiful blossoms. It's me, Shigure Oshiro, and welcome to Shantae. I have never played any of these games. I think I'll start with... I'll do the enhanced version since it makes the most sense. I don't want to do old-fashioned stuff, in all honesty, so... yeah. I'll have to get used to the controls. Alright, as per usual. Oh, hello. How are you doing? Everything's going well on my end. I basically just started not too long ago, so... yeah, I've never played these games before either. So, you're not alone in that regard. Okay. Yeah. I basically decided to go into the franchise in chronological order for the most part, so just makes the most logical sense to do things that way. No, I'm playing the PS4 version, although this is the enhanced version of the game itself. So, I got the option between the regular version and then the enhanced, essentially, so. It's pretty cheap on PS4, $10. I reckon that's because it is that version of the game, however it's the PS4 port of it. I don't know. I'd recommend taking a look into it yourself and all that. Just so you can see. To be fair, I reckon it's not the first... Well, like I said, it's basically the PS4 port of it. So, got this game digitally. Yeah, it definitely seems like it. Fortunately, I've never played too many Game Boy games back in the day, so there is that. Good to know. Not really much I can say in response to what you're saying, so... Yeah. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, that's the PS4 version for you. Like, there's a similar problem with Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy on the PS4, where it's like the hitboxes are off and the aiming is so bad that you literally have to adjust your first-person aim when it comes to the blasters and stuff. So... yeah, that's basically how it is. The old games like this aren't really my thing, so... Of course I'm gonna struggle a lot, here and there. At least I have plenty of other games to switch to if I do have too many issues and all that. The old games like this are basically harder than it seems, especially on the PS4. Like old-fashioned ports, and especially ones like these, are definitely difficult to deal with in most situations. Sometimes I even use gameplay as like guides as how to play and all that, but you know, I'd rather save those for when I actually need to. It's just easier for me to not follow online guides to avoid spoilers most cases. Yeah, it is, if you can even get used to putting up with the hecticness of the old games. Well, I'm sure it's been a while since you've played on, like, a Game Boy and all that. So I'm pretty sure if you're gonna play, like, the old version of this, you'd have to get used to it. PS4 port definitely takes some getting used to, considering that you have to adapt to the different controls. The first thing I got playing Game Boy games was using the DS Lite feature of playing Game Boy games on there and all that, so... There's that sort of experience, but... Obviously, that experience is entirely different compared to playing on an actual Game Boy. Well, in any case, I just don't play Game Boy games that much, considering that I don't really play on my DS Lite anymore. Like, I started playing that, like, ages ago. Yeah. Although Shantae is not a game that I have for the Game Boy. I don't know if my brothers even have that. Yeah, it definitely does. I really grew up with, like, the PS2, PS1, GameCube, Nintendo Wii, stuff like that. That's considering the fact that I was born in 2003. I started playing on the 360 during my teenage years, so... yeah, I'm basically in my 20s. I'll be like 21 on my 4th this year, which is pretty crazy to think about. Okay, I'm not familiar with the Sega consoles, but My mother grew up with the Atari, essentially, so yeah, that's basically some old shit right there. She's even grown up with Pac-Man. All that fun stuff, too, so... Yeah, I'm not familiar with a lot of the stuff from way back then. I mainly grew up with, like, the older... with, like, the newer stuff and all that. Like, there's some old stuff I've played, like, to some degree. Especially considering that the original Xbox is essentially older than what it used to be. But I do recall playing a lot of other games here and there as well. Like, I've played the Pokemon Diamond a little bit. I mostly goofed around with that, though, considering that I didn't have my own copy. Like, way back in the day, and that's for, like, the original version of the game. My very first Pokemon game, which is one I've actually beaten, it was the very first Pokemon White. Which is essentially the game at this point. But definitely one of the classics that you can't go wrong with. Yeah, I've heard of those. I've heard that the Gen 2 Pokemon games are good too. So, two of the best games in the franchise, but any of them. So, I've heard those games are good. I was one of those Star Wars kids, to be honest. Like the original trilogy and the prequels. Even watch like the Disney Cars movies back in the day. Grew up with some decently good games there. I've even grown up with like Batman. Like the Lego Batman games, to be more specific. Yeah, it's basically old stuff like that. Maybe more modern compared to like the Game Boy stuff, but still, it's definitely old nowadays, so I will say what I want in that regard. I've even played some underrated gems on, like, the DS. Like, there was, like, Garfield's Fun Fest game for the DS back in the day. Which case, that was a lot of fun. Frustrating, though. So there's basically a lot of good games like that out there. Then for the original Xbox, there's the underrated Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi game. To be fair, it's definitely more common now, more common background when it comes to video games. Considering that the gaming industry has definitely evolved compared to back then. Basically, grown up with a lot of interesting games. So, yeah, and Code Vein is a good Souls-like, and that's an anime Souls-like as well. It's basically anime Dark Souls, and that's underrated. Came out in 2019. It's a definitely fun game. Which is one I'd highly recommend checking out. I will say that Code Vein definitely has some top tier customization, in terms of character customization and all that, because it's just some good stuff. It's definitely a tedious game, though. It's actually the only Souls-like I know how to play. There's even DLC for it. But the DLC is a tedious one. Because there's obviously 2 sets of DLC, but all of it's pretty much late game content. I do recall there being a curious storage game for either the PS1 or PS2 back in the day. I don't remember which console, but I know it was for one of those old ones. Specifically, so... Sadly, I never beat that one. I don't even know if I even have that anymore. I am familiar with a lot of interesting stuff, though. I will say that much. In terms of visual novels, especially ones that are on PC, specifically ones that are on PC, Lucid 9 Inciting Incident is an underrated gem, and it's free to play. It's still a work in progress, but you know, it's out there, and you can still play that. Highly worth it, though. Lucid 9 is actually a visual novel that my brother Jared found at one point. And I basically grabbed it from looking through the app. And then there's the free to play. Yeah, it's basically some good stuff. And then free-to-play first-person shooters that are essentially popular but seem underrated, especially, and it's more like overhated these days, but Team Fortress 2 is also a game I've played. So yeah, there's this cool. I've even heard of the Portal games, but unfortunately I don't have either of those. But I've heard they're good. Yeah, I've seen gameplay of them too, but I've never played any of them personally. There's just a lot of interesting games out there. I even recall playing the demo version of one of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games that was successful on the DS Lite. Give the regular actual version of it. And obviously it requires 2 DS systems to connect to each other, but you know, it's definitely a demo that I got frustrated with. But then again, I always end up doing something that not meant to be done by that basically stupid stuff. I don't remember the exact details, so I recommend just checking them out for yourself and seeing what I'm talking about. Yeah, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is definitely an interesting set of games, I would say, but not really my thing. Okay, I did not know that there were modded versions of those games on the 3DS, but okay. I know that people mod their Nintendo Wii's, but modding a 3DS, that's something that's unheard of to me. Okay, well, that could have been worded better then. Phrasing is what matters. I can only interpret things to be what I read. Considering that reading the chat is basically text. Yeah, I mean, save money, but still, it's kind of unheard of it for doing such things to a 3DS. At that point, just use a PC and simulate the games. Like, yeah, I know it'll use up storage, but still. I do recall, like, a good few years ago, I had, like, an obsession with, like, visual novels. So I have, like, a good amount, a decent amount of those on my Steam account. Still a lot of fun, though. Yeah, some of them I had to pay for, but definitely worth it. Unfortunately, I do have my Steam account linked on my card code thing, you know, where you have where the list of all my social media accounts are. You tap on that or click on that, whichever device, depending on the device you're on. You'll be able to find my profile link there. Should have that stuff public, but if not, it's probably just public to friends. Like, in terms of the privacy settings, so. I just have a lot of stuff linked there. So. Yeah, I even have my Steam profile linked to my Discord account, so you can easily access it from there. As well, since there's a lot less of a hassle. Especially considering the amount of stuff I've linked there in comparison. I do know that I should get the rest of the achievements for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, on the PC version, but Stupid Things that wants to keep crashing at random points, so it's kind of like, yeah, you have to use an older PC for that. It doesn't really work well on Windows 10, and as far as I know, it doesn't work well on 11. Yeah. I already have most of the achievements for the game. I don't know if it's just the mods I have for it, considering that most of those are no longer around, or if it's just PC in my case, but I know that people had to do some stuff to make the game work on Windows 10 and all that. The first game works perfectly fine though, which is kind of weird. But what do I know? I'm just someone who plays the games, not works on them. Wait, if you play the KOTOR games, like, and you don't know what you're doing, I can easily help you get through those, considering I've played those, like, over 100 times. Which is not an exaggeration. Considering that I was very obsessed with those games at one point. Kind of moved away from them because it's like there are other games that I should literally be getting into and all that. Like, I need to kind of expand my search for good games, considering that Star Wars games aren't the only good ones out there. Yeah, I definitely recommend checking out both of the KOTOR games. They're a lot of fun. Yeah, I just know that I've been kind of a little too strict with my taste in them because I even got into like Persona 5 like a few years ago. So yeah, this decade is basically allowed me to try new things without even really saying much about it. Yeah, there's just a whole lot of games in my personal library. Overall, I even have like physical copies of some old games. Like, I do know that one of the PS2 games that I think I still have is the video game version of the movie Bolt. If you're familiar with the Disney movies, you might know the movie I'm talking about. You may have even heard of its game as well. So there's that. I basically have like over 100 games on my PS4, which is quite a lot. And now that on top of the fact that I have the few PS3 games, all that, I basically have a huge amount of games. Still, I don't have too many Nintendo games, so my honest, unless first you count my Nintendo Wii library of games in terms of the physical stuff. So there's basically quite a lot of games I could list if I really wanted to. Well, the PS3 isn't really needed if you're going to play PS3 games, considering that if you get PlayStation Plus Premium, you can just play a lot of the classics on your PS4. It's actually a lot easier to do. So you can't play all of the PS3 games, but you can play a good amount. You can even play some PS2 games. crazy enough, I only have like 2 Nintendo Wii games. Or not Nintendo Wii games, Nintendo Wii U games. And that have not been up for long, but either way, I don't. Point still stands. So there's that and stuff as well. The 2 Wii U games I have are Lego Batman 3 and Lego City Undercover. Those are the 2 games I actually own for the Nintendo Wii U. So, do that way you will. Yeah, I personally don't have a Nintendo 64, but I do have the regular Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii U is actually worse than the Nintendo Wii in some sense or another, so... There's basically a whole lot of other games I have as well, but obviously it would take way too long for me to list every single game I have. In terms of the Xbox 360 games, the first ones I played were Borderlands 2 and Halo Reach. definitely some good games out of that stuff. Sadly, I didn't have internet back then because it wasn't. We just weren't able to afford it back then, but in my case, but that's how it is. So I was basically stuck doing local split screen related stuff for a lot of the time. The regular Xbox has like System Link, in which case that's an outdated feature. But I use that for doing multiplayer for Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy at one point. It only happened once, but that's beside the point. Anywho, I think I'll stop here for today. I only don't cut things short, but at the same time I do have other things I want to do. So, I'll see all of you tomorrow. In which case, for that and stuff, tomorrow I basically have Scarlet Nexus planned for tomorrow, which is at 6:30 p.m. US Central Time, so I'll see all of you then. Goodbye for now, my beautiful blossoms. Remember to stay beautiful, stay hydrated, and stay safe.